So, hi, on the Guys Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with
Adam from Polar.
and some questions today about the upcoming album, Five Arrows. So, congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. Obviously, a lot changed since the last time we spoke,
Mhm.
dramatically,
hmm
and obviously with the music's changed with the complete lineup change. So, I think we just sort of decided to change. Well, I decided to change everything quite dramatically because I think that was the best thing to do. And the response has been great. You know, it has been good and bad. And I think that was something that was definitely going to happen because with a change that has happened and a style change musically, I think that's going to create a response. And I think that's what we wanted to do. And it's been good because I think it's people have been commenting whether it has been good or bad, which
hmm
means that we are generally getting underneath people's skin, which is a good feeling.
That's
Yeah,
good.
for
Hell yeah.
sure.
Had
Huh.
had seen the lineup change and the sonic change with that. It feels natural. Obviously, it was intentional on your end, but it feels like it would just make sense. Like it's a new formation of the band. So, are you going to continue to make the same type of music? Probably not.
No, no, it was. I think we weren't didn't want to completely cut off what Polar had done.
Mhm.
Uh, the new guys are super respectful for the history of the band musically as well. So I didn't wanted to honour that going forward. But I think the music industry and music taste has changed dramatically, and I think Polar had to evolve with that. I think that was the way for us to basically keep on the map. Is
hmm
to basically style change. And I say it's completely like style change. There is a big style change, but there, you know, the underlining sort of sound factor that Polar's built is still there.
Mhm.
It's just got a lot more going on with it now.
hmm
Absolutely. Well, the
Makes sense.
album fucking rips.
hmm
Well, thank you very much. Oh,
Of
you've
course.
heard it. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
who's heard it. I don't know who hasn't heard it. I've had it for too long. So, no, thank you,
Of course,
thank
yeah. I
you.
was I was jamming it last night. I was just blown away. It's so good.
hmm
Thank you.
Sure.
That's a really nice. It's great. That's a very good response. You know, that's one that I'll put on the good pile. But yeah, no, it's nice to finally hear that people are actually hearing it. We've had it since February, so it's been a
Yeah.
long time.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you've had it since February. Can we backtrack? When did the writing process kind of start for this?
The Rhine process. Well, the process started immediately. Really. Not only did the band change, but the whole back of office and back of house changed with it. New manager, new agent,
Mhm.
and with what had happened with the change and how it had affected the everything process, well, like campaign, it fundamentally had sort of flattened it, and
hmm
that's something I had to take stock of. Um, the initial out push would be we need new music. You know, it's a new band. It's got to be displayed in the only way it can, and that is new music. So
hmm
they instantly pushed us straight into like writing. So um, I think at first we were kind of still getting to know each other, and that was and it's still going on. We were sort of kind of learning how to work with each other.
hmm
So the process at the beginning was slow. And then there was a little bit of like a foot on the pedal from like the back of the house, and then it was like foot down there and go for it. And it was a lot easier than the previous record. Um,
hmm
because the other previous record was made in the pandemic, which was impossible looking back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and this record just it came together. I think Polar was lacking a lot of energy for a long time.
hmm
And I think that loss of energy really had a big effect on what the band's musical output was. So when you put new people into something and they're hungry and they're thirsty and they've got ideas and they knew the band and they've watched that band from an outer perspective and then they've
hmm
been brought in, they've brought like a real like fresh mentality to how the band works. So
hmm
the album really came together well. Like there were the previous like lineup had a like I would say like a blueprint. We knew what
hmm
worked. We knew the songs that kind of resonated with people, and this record was like a chance for us to be like, let's take the blueprint away and do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did. So, and yeah, and it it feels like a bit of a high risk record in a sense of doing that, because I guess we've been around for a long time. Like, well, I've been around a long time, but for like 15 years, and people have got to know us, or have grown with us, have followed the album journeys. So for this, it was like, right, okay, like this isn't what people are going to be expecting. And and that's got its own energy in itself, because you never know what people's interpretations are going to be of what, you're taking
Mm-hmm.
something and you're literally throwing it and spinning it and pulling it in a million different directions. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, 4 months. I think it took us 4 months in total to
Wow.
do the record, and
That's not too
that
bad.
was recorded as well.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's impressive, considering
Yes, sir.
you basically you got the back of house together, you got the band together, and then everyone was just like, all right, go in,
Let's
work
go.
on
let's go,
shit, and
let's go. Yeah,
go meet each other and figure out how you work. So
Yeah.
like with that, like, can you talk, I'm going to assume there was a learning curve with the writing process this time around. Could you talk a little bit about that, if there was?
um, no, like it was more like revelations.
Mhm.
Um, like in the sense that Um, when we did Everything, that record was written in a pandemic, and we completely pulled ourselves away from any sort of social environments. Nobody really knew what we were doing. We were working internally, and when we worked internally, we didn't really take notice of what was going on around us. And that,
Mm-hmm.
and on a bit of hindsight, I didn't see the evolution in music that was happening. We
Mm-hmm.
were like so like focused heavily on writing the best Polar record that was going to be in it, and unfortunately it didn't become that. But what it is, and then I sort of like, as soon as they like the lineup changed, and I sort of kind of started to take a bit more notice of what was going on musically around me and what was happening in the industry and within the scene we play in. I was like, oh, we're missing tricks. We're just like, yeah, we're
Mm-hmm.
not adding this dynamic. We're not pursuing this. We haven't gone into this market. We haven't tried to add this element into our sound. And it was almost like, like an eureka moment. Like it was like suddenly the light bulb came on. It was like, right, okay, like I understand why maybe the band hadn't progressed at the rate
Mm-hmm.
we wanted it to.
Yeah.
I understand why people weren't so on board with us. And by having that sort of revelation sort of open, it just went, right, okay, cool. Like, let's go and find a producer. Now, this is probably a
Mm-hmm.
good time to talk about a guy called Jack Murphy. He produced our record,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like the sixth member of the band. And he was just he was so good at like understanding our vision and taking the vision on board himself,
Mm-hmm.
that he just allowed us to have that freedom to work and explore things and not put something on the table. Whereas in past instances where stuff had been put or placed in front of us, like musically, it was too challenging. It was too like out of the box of what Polar had been doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt too high risk. Whereas this was like, cool. If that feels incorrect or doesn't feel like natural to what Polar is, then that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do,
Yeah.
because that is going to get us the better songs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that it was, yeah, so it wasn't so much the learning curve, but just a bit more like taking notice of what was going on around us
Mm-hmm.
and working Polar sound to almost like push it to that kind of like level. Like, so
Yeah.
Gotcha.
that's
That's awesome.
kind of where I was at.
Fuck yeah.
Gotcha. And the process overall seemed like it was relatively quick, like writing and just getting the album. But were there any songs overall that kind of were a bit harder to crack on the album?
um I wouldn't say like hard to crack. Like,
Mm.
we've got the opening track, "We Won't Sleep," which is really the black sheep of the record, which is why we
Mhm.
put it out first, because
Yeah.
I knew that was going to cause a lot of issues. And that I'd never really rapped, like, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm now 15 years in my career now. I'm sort of becoming a rapper, and like
Mhm.
I say becoming a rapper, but like
Yeah,
adding
yeah.
adding this kind of like massive element which was never really been used or like kind of pushed into our sound.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it took maybe a bit more like time to adjust to those kind of changes, like
Yeah.
how I was going to do it, like what kind of voice I was going to use, how that was going to
Mhm.
complement the music. Um, because I feel that the record like 5 hours is very challenging for a listener, but it was almost quite challenging for us as writers to be
Mm.
like, okay, we're going to do this style of song. Um, Now a lot of the styles of the songs in that record, with the way we went about it to like get to those styles, is because we were getting to know each other. We basically had a big like Google Meet with our like producer, and
Mm.
he was just like, I want you to make playlists, Spotify playlists of every of 10 songs you listen to, of
Yeah.
varied songs, and then we put those all together and we find the anomalies that work, and then the
Mm.
things that are different to everyone else.
Mm.
So, and for me, I was like, I've got an opportunity to like kind of like tilt my hat to my heroes. You know, I've always wanted
Mm.
to write a Beastie Boys song, so I was like,
Yeah.
let's write a Beastie Boys song. I've
Mm.
always wanted like a Limp Bizkit style riff. I always,
Hey.
I'm a huge kind of Turnstile fan, so I really
Mm.
like that whole kind of more traditional hardcore. So and that was kind of like the same with a lot of the other guys, and it allowed us to kind of like really sort of look into like what had basically influenced us as musicians to make like music, to then make an album that kind of contains that.
Mhm.
Mm.
So that was kind of exciting. It was like you can kind of like you're trying to basically like complement your heroes
Mm.
in the best way you can. Whether we did that, I don't know, but like that was kind of the focus, and I think it made the songs interesting, and it had
100%.
that variation.
Yeah. Love
Absolutely.
it.
Hell yeah.
Mm.
So had the track list the album come about, did you guys write the opener for the opener, close a bit closer, shuffle and see what fits? What was that process like?
Yeah, yeah, that was all mapped out. The whole records, it had planning and strategy, like
Mm.
where songs were going to fit, like what people were going to hear at the beginning to what they're going to hear in the middle to the end, and how that sort of like varies. You know, like I felt like maybe some of our previous records, we would have like these really kind of big opening moments and very big closing moments, but then sometimes in the middle, then it almost kind of hit these kind of little bit too like lulls, or there was
Mm.
too many similar styles of songs that were very close together. So it was like super important for us to have the like each song to have its purpose, but that where it sat on the record, so it wasn't going to be clashing with something else, and
Mm.
that it had its moment, and the listener will hear something at the beginning, and maybe they'll hear something very similar towards the end that's kind of like new, but it's been like put into the record throughout.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, there was strategy behind it, and I think that's fundamentally what makes a good record is
Mhm.
understanding how your track listing works, and where you're placing your music in
Yeah.
that track listing to how the listener is going to sort of hear it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
100%. Yeah. And would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while writing this record? I know you kind of went into it a little bit earlier, but if you want, you go a bit more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
A bit more in depth. Okay,
Mm.
so when you've been in a band with all those people for so long,
Yeah.
and they're all you've ever known, and you know these were some very like old friendships,
Mm.
your mental health goes to zero, like naturally.
Mm.
I think that it's a massive impact, and I think even now I'm kind of processing like what went on, and how even my part in all of that played, and those relationships are no longer in place, and whether they will be in the future I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
it what it did allow sort of kind of push me to do was to be very like to work on instincts and become like proactive in the situation I'm in,
Mm.
because if I sat there and licked my wounds for too long, I knew that the moment would pass,
Mm.
and I knew that this was only going to ever work if I was being positive and being very like forward with everything,
Mm.
than if you sit and dwell on something. So although I was kind of probably going through like a very tough mental health period, I was kind of being pulled out of that by the fact that I was being so proactive with making this project move, making
Mm.
Polar become a strong force again. So it's really like you kind of have like these really like I have a lot of great things happening now in Polar, like bigger and better than it was ever before.
Mm.
But at the same time, I'm kind of processing like why something failed and
Mm-hmm.
why
Mm.
something fell apart,
Yeah.
and what why those things impacted then, and like trying to learn from those lessons that those will never happen again, or it will never be in those situations ever again. So yeah, it's tough, it's really tough, and the industry is tough in itself, but I think it was like the positive foot forward was always going to be the thing that was going to basically fundamentally win the race. And so yeah, I kind of charged into that, and I really sort of kind of used that as a big sort of lean in tool in trying to kind of keep everything going. And yeah, it's the amount of damage that split caused, like not just with the band, but like with friendships with a lot of people. Like those relationships will never be the same again, and that's something that is a bit of pill to swallow most days.
Yeah.
But I think we live in a time now where change happens, and if you learn to embrace change and accept change, then there's a lot of bright days ahead. And that was the thing that was kind of keeping me going, really. That was
Yeah. Well, it is good to hear that, like, even though everything around you pretty much came crumbling down, and at that point you could have just been like, fuck this, I give up, I'm gonna go do something else. You at least had enough motivation in you to know that, like, this is just like, gotta keep pushing on the thing I've been working on for so long, and you didn't give up in that moment.
I think Polar, I think we were yet to deliver the best album. Be like, even going forward, there's probably even better music there, but that keeps me awake at night. Like, knowing that, like, I probably would have been at a point if we had got to the point and that record had done really well, like the previous one, and it was just an internal issue and there were like actual relationship issues. But musically, I knew that I had achieved what I set out to achieve. There may have been a different thought process when I got to that, but I was like, I'm not there yet. Like, I don't think Polar has fundamentally delivered what it should have delivered or should be delivering. And that was just like, I just couldn't let it go. I was like a dog with a bone. Like, like it was like, right, I've got to, I want to go out and I want to do something else with this. I feel Polar deserved that. That was the torch that I had to carry.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Right. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should do in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. Honestly, I would say headphones.
Yep, damn right.
Absolutely. I think that. Yeah, I think there's so much going on in those songs now, like musically layered in. I think party with your friends, because it's got a bit of a vibe. This record, it should be. It shouldn't be listened to in a somber sense. Like, maybe the previous record was a bit too somber, and I think this one's like, this is the injection. Yeah, this is the can of Red Bull that the band needed. So.
Damn right, I love it. And this one should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
I would say like something like mega big explosion, because that's what I feel like it is. It is a mega big explosion.
Yeah, I fucking love it. I love it so much.
And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
Euphoria. Just a state of euphoria. I think, it's there to take you away for 40 minutes or however long it is. A state of euphoric. It should be. That's the feeling you should be walking away with.
I love that.
It. Wonderful. And are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of the album, positive or negative?
And it's an ongoing like challenge. Is that the band's actually made up with people who are actually not all in the same country anymore. Our drummer lives in Germany, and obviously to make things work, we have to maneuver. He has to maneuver himself back and forth from to us to Germany and back. So so obviously we have to plan time and like flights and making sure he's getting there on time. Being the drummer, he's obviously quite an essential part of the beginning of the process. I think it was just as well, like, I think because then where everyone's new, I've been doing it for a long time, but everyone else is new. Um, and a big thing for me is like everyone having their own like personal lives in check and then intact, and like keep, making sure like significant others know how things work, and like, so yeah, I think that's obviously going to be like a challenge in itself, because not everyone understands the music industry or like the mechanics
Mm.
behind it. So yeah, that's those are daily challenges for all
Yeah.
of us.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for the last couple of questions, we're going to shift completely away from music. So if you could be one animal for the rest of your life, what animal would you be and why?
A cat, because I mean they have the cushiest lives, and
Oh yeah.
like like when I go on reels, I mean all I watch is cat videos. Like that's that's the kind of level of fame I would want to have as an animal. So yeah, I'd
Yeah.
definitely say a cat.
I love that. I
Oh
love that.
yeah.
I'm in the same boat. When I open my reels, it's just cats now. I don't even understand what happened. It's
Yeah,
just,
I'm not mad about that. I'm just
oh
like
no.
keep them coming. I want more. Like
Exactly. Yeah, more cats, more cats. And if you could have lunch with any celebrity or artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
probably Kurt Cobain,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Fucking
Really,
Kurt
like,
Cobain.
and yeah, and there's probably a lot of reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, from the fact that I probably listened to more of Nirvana's albums than I did actually studying in school. So
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
All
Love
right.
it.
And for this last question, boom, you're on a desert island. You can bring one movie, one album, and one person. Who and what are you bringing?
uh, I should probably bring my wife, because if I don't say my
Yeah.
wife and she watches this and hears it, like she's definitely gonna have
Yeah, you'd
some
be sleeping on the
conversations about
couch.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I mean the couch. I mean that's probably like even like too comfortable for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Not even mentioning it, like outside of the house in a wooden
There you go.
box.
On the
I imagine.
lawn. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's who I'd bring.
Okay.
One movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say like the first Joker movie, because I've got a
Mm-hmm.
bit of a connection to that movie. Like my best friend's in that movie,
Oh,
Okay.
and
That's fucking
he's
awesome.
the little guy, Gary.
Oh shit.
Lee.
Oh
Yeah,
shit. Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
fucking dope. I love that movie. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
So he's one of my best friends, and
Yeah.
yeah, that movie really touched me. And like not just because he's in it, but like for what it portrayed and like
Mm-hmm.
how well it was portrayed. So yeah, I'd
Oh
take
yeah.
that movie. Like yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
gives him a little nod because I can't bring him with me because I've got to take my wife. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take his movie. I'll take his movie instead.
nice.
Exactly. There you
Uh,
go. Yeah.
Album will be Deftones Around the Fur,
Mm-hmm.
because I'd never lose interest in that record. It never. It's over the 27 years it's been out now. I can still put it on, and it still sort of puts shivers down my spine. So yeah, that would be my record.
All
Lovely.
right. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, the record is out 5 hours on November. Thank you to everyone that's been listening to it, checking it out, and thank you to you guys for having me back.
Of course.
Of course.
Well, thank you for sound. It's been Woody from Polar, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.